Hello, this is Dr. Garret, Castleberry, Associate Professor and Program Director of Communication, Media, and Ethics, Chair of the Adult School of Arts and Sciences for the College of Adult and Graduate Studies at Mid-America Christian University. I'm excited to welcome you all to this guest speaker introduction for COMM 4603, Creating Social Media Presence and Cultural Movements. As you know by this point, our Creating Social Media Presence and Cultural Movements class emphasizes strategic networking in the vein of interviewing. And so you all, the student, get to put together and pool, produce, and present your questions to a guest speaker each and every week in the class. Our speakers range in expertise, years of experience, where they work in the world and who they work with. But it's up to you to make those connections and see where the through line is between them, the work they do, and what brings it all together. Hint, hint, we're engaging in it right now. So without further ado, let me set up our next speaker, and I'm going to try to run through some of her experiences. If, I don't know, my face melts off or my head explodes, you're just going to have to deal with it, okay? And then just pick up the interview from there. Our next guest is going to be Kateri DeLong, and Kateri currently serves as Director of Development for the George W. Bush Presidential Center. At least her location is based out of, let's just say, roughly Dallas, Texas, but she oversees development both in the North Texas and West Coast region for or on behalf of that organization. Prior to her work there, she has approximately 16 years in various sectors of higher education and primary education. But let me clarify, we're not just talking about a career academic here. I'm going to parcel some of the unique ways that this individual uses her communication skills to aid not only herself, but the organizations she represents. So let's get into it. Let's talk about some of these previous duties, of which there are many, and all of which she's incredibly successful at. All right, so let me break it down. We'll be careful. The eye line's going to shift around here because there's just so much information. I couldn't commit it all to memory. All right, so previously she worked for 5 years as the Vice President of Philanthropy and Engagement at Texas A&M University Commerce. All right, so big university system in the state of Texas, and working in those areas of philanthropy, right? And so there's a lot of community relations involved, cultivating and sustaining relationships with donors, an enormous part of the success threads that feed the lifeblood of universities. So what is that like? What are daily, monthly, quarterly, annual goals and projects like? Let's get into it. Dissect. Ask her. We want to uncover what it takes to get that done. This is someone that keeps moving in an upward trajectory. So the signs are she knows how to do it and knows how to do it well. So let's learn from her through your questions. Some responsibilities may include aligning goals and strategies of alumni relations, departmental donor relations, philanthropic operations teams. So here's someone managing people, working with people, managing people, steering the ship. You got it. So that is something she was excelling at in the TAMU, or Texas A&M University system, as particularly their commerce branch. And but let's reach further back than that. AG and Resources out of Boston, Massachusetts. What is this? Including some faculty responsibilities, but also responsibilities that include conducting webinars, so orientations online, organized management of dissemination of information in a highly dynamic fashion. What kinds of stuff? What kind of topics are we talking about? All right, here we go. I'm listing them. Digital fundraising, cold calls, listening to donors, face-to-face visits. All right, conducting digital workshops, with themes that include virtual frontline fundraising. Man, there's a lot of buzzwords here. I hope everyone's getting these down. Conducting additional digital workshops, research, advancement tools, webinars, facilitating group discussions. What? We're talking about a professional communicator? Yes, we are. But it doesn't stop there. Let's move on in the professional career. Prior to that, or maybe actually it looks like parallel to that, worked for the University of North Texas, great college town, by the way, as a senior director of development in the College of Education. Senior Director of Development in the College of Education. Major achievements include generation of millions of dollars of fundraising, meeting, and exceeding quotas, right? So we're getting into some of that jargonistic terminology there, but with someone that could make goals and meet goals. I'm feeling a question there, like, what do you do to make goals? How do you meet these goals? Are you telling me there's a way not to have a responsibility and it all fall apart? What is the secret, right? What's the secret sauce? Maybe she can unpack, share a recipe or two, if you know what I'm saying, through your guided questions. But let's continue along here. She's also worked for the Hockaday School in Dallas, Texas. Tell me more. Including a role of Director of Stewardship, Major Gifts and Planned Giving, Director of Annual Giving. Oh my goodness. It's the gift that keeps on giving. This speaker, you all need to get some questions going. They're going to light a fire. They're going to get her talking and sharing. Learn something through this opportunity. So what's going on at that role? Tease out some questions, but let's move on. There's more organizations I want to list. The Lamplighter School in Dallas, Texas. She worked as an advancement assistant. Now we're getting into some lower level things as we're kind of moving further and further back in time, but direct mail givings, plan and implement engagement, fundraising events. Okay, so someone that's like hobnobbing and in social circles and motivating people and making connections. Whew, could we all stand to get just a little bit better at that? I bet we could. So let's try to learn through her experiences, right? You be the sponge, absorb this information. She also served at the University of North Texas again, I guess in graduate roles as an instructor, as a research assistant, but also as the assistant basic course director. So that basic course of, I assume, communication. And so her background, as you might guess, is in communication. Let's go over that educational background. She has Bachelor of Arts in Communication Studies in Spanish from the University of North Carolina at Wilmington, as well as a Master's of Arts in Communication Studies from the University of North Texas. Well, there are small subpoints I could continue to get into, a lot of description there, a lot of titles. You may have to replay this a time or two, stop, write something down, pick it back up, whatever. But that is going to be our preview for our next guest interviewee, Kituri DeLong, who's going to join us for our interviewing series in COMM 4603, Creating Social Media Presence and Cultural Movements.